Hi, this is Jason Deese with the National Weather Service here in Peachtree City, Georgia, and this is the weekly weather briefing for the week of January the 16th, 2014, and we're going to talk about the potential winter weather coming up, which doesn't look like at this time it's all that great a threat, but we'll be detailing that and the lack of major storm systems coming through during the next week. So the question posed on this slide is, where is the cold air? Well, the simple answer, looking at the map, the blues and purples there indicate the coldest of the air, and we're looking at about 5,000 feet up. This kind of takes away some of the effects of the mountains that you might see and gives us a truer representation of where the cold air is. So looking at those blues and purples, that's where the really cold air is. And if you look, you have to go all the way out into the western Atlantic and the Caribbean before you get to the warm air, indicated by the green and yellows. So, looking at this map, the cold air is here. The cold air is over most of the nation, with an emphasis there on the eastern half of the United States. And we can actually see some of those deeper blues entering into the Tennessee Valley and northwest Georgia. Some of the coldest air, though, it still remains over Canada. You can see some of those purples up there. We do have two more systems coming through, and behind each of those systems we're going to be bringing down a little bit more of that cold air. So one of the cutoffs that we look for during this time of year for winter-type precipitation is what is the temperature at 5,000 feet. And the cutoff that we usually look at is 0 degrees Celsius or 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Well, you can't really see it on this map, but I will tell you that the temperatures we're looking at for today and into tomorrow and even into the weekend, we're looking at minus 10 to minus 15 degrees Celsius at 5,000 feet, so an extremely cold air mass. And the implications will be that we're not going to be too concerned with precipitation type for once. That's usually one of our biggest concerns. But most of the precipitation that will fall will be in the form of snow. It's just a question of, will we have enough moisture to get measurable snowfall across the area? So let's try to answer that question posed on the last slide. Where is the cold air? Well, the cold air is here. And looking at the map on the left, Thursday's highs continued quite cold, some 5 to 10 degrees below normal. Of course, not looking at what we saw last week with highs in the 20s and lows in the single digits, but still relatively cold for this time of year. So the big question now is, will this trend continue, and how long will it go on? Well, it looks like the cold air is going to be with us definitely through the end of the week and most of the weekend. We can see for Friday highs in the mid-40s, except for mid-50s down in Macon. The top panel shows Rome. Middle panel shows temperatures in the Atlanta area, and the bottom one for Macon. Coldest morning is going to be Saturday morning. Lows right around 20 in Rome, lower 20s in the Atlanta area, and still quite cold in Macon, low to mid-20s down there. So continuing the cold trend down there. We do get some moderation on Sunday afternoon. Highs right around 50 for Rome and Atlanta, mid-50s down in Macon. And then, as we alluded to before, early next week we do get a system moving in. Right ahead of the system we do get some warmer air moving in. Mid-50s for highs, getting close to 60 for Macon. Now for Rome and Atlanta, we're still only getting up to around what we should normally see around this time of year. So it's still a cold pattern when ahead of these systems we're only getting up to what we should be. And then if we look well ahead into Wednesday, we see behind the system more cold air in store for us with highs only in the 40s. Okay, I'm not going to make you wait any longer. I'm sure you're all wondering, with all this cold air in place, we're going to get any precipitation in here to produce any wintry weather. And the answer is a little bit. This is looking at the simulated radar Friday evening. So this is what we might be looking at when we're looking at our radar Friday evening. Looking at the shading in white, that decides what the precip type is going to be like. And in white is showing the snow. And so we're not going to have any problem deciding what the precipitation type will be. For these events coming up the next several days, it's going to be predominantly snow with the cold air aloft that we showed before. The big question this time is going to be the lack of moisture, would tend to favor flurries at best for the mountains at this time. Now, we'll be the first ones to tell you that these are very challenging, these northwest flow systems, to determine how much precip is coming with them. And there's going to be a pretty sharp cutoff between the North Carolina mountains and the Georgia mountains and how much each of those locations get. Right now it looks like the best moisture is going to move into the Carolina mountains and kind of skip over most of Georgia, but we'll be watching this one very closely because it won't take much if we get one band to move into those northeast mountains with it being so cold, the accumulation could be higher than we expect. But right now, just expecting flurries for the mountains. Our National Center agrees with this assessment, showing the contours of anticipated snowfall, and this is the likelihood of seeing greater than 1 inch. And looking at the northeast mountains, you can kind of see the areas of concern, but even with the areas that are highlighted in brown and yellow, those only represent up to 5% chance right now of seeing above a 1 inch snowfall. You can see that it increases as we move into the North Carolina mountains, so we'll be watching it closely. But right now, as stated before, just looking at mainly flurries for the area. We've got another system coming in Friday evening. It's going to be much like this one, where we've got the cold air in place, but not a lot of precipitation moving in with it. There's a little bit more with this particular system right now, so we'll be watching it closely as well. This is one of the models that we use, and it's showing probabilities of seeing that 1 inch snowfall again. A little bit higher on it, showing around 30% across the extreme northeast mountains. But again, most of it's over Tennessee and the North Carolina mountains, so you can see where most of that moisture is heading. But still worth watching, and we will be through Saturday night. And once again, it looks like with the National Center's representation, we're pretty much in line with what they're thinking as well. And looking at a little bit higher probabilities for that 1 inch snowfall in this case, but still only looking at that 10 to 20% range right now, and that's for the extreme northeast mountains and primarily for the higher elevations. So again, still worth watching, but right now expecting a majority of the accumulating snowfall to remain north of the area. So otherwise, for the rest of the week, we're going to be entering into a quiet period, really, with very little rainfall expected. We can see over northwest Georgia there, we're only expecting around 1/10 to maybe 1/4 of an inch of rain for the next 7 days. And most of these light amounts displayed will be from the rain system expected on Monday, when we were showing you the warmer temperatures in the mid-50s. So in summary, we've got 2 systems to clip the mountains, one tonight and the other Friday night into Saturday. Looking at the snowfall graphic on the right, you can see what we're expecting, mainly going to be staying north of the area over the North Carolina mountains, but we'll be looking for some trace amounts with the flurries over our extreme northeast mountains as well. Precipitation type will be snow, but mainly in the form of flurries, and more uncertainty with the second system at this time. Otherwise, looks like a pretty benign week, so hope you all have a great week, and thanks for spending some time with us this week.